So hey everyone, welcome again to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to solve a new question from our top interview 150 question series, and the question name is ransom note. So this is our the question on from now is going from the hash map. So this is the first question from that topic. So let's get to the question. So we have been given two strings ransom note and magazine. We have to return true if ransom note can be constructed by using the letters from magazine and false otherwise. Each letter in magazine can only be used once in a ransom note. So in here we have been given two strings and it is asking to check if by using the letters present in the string magazine can you construct ransom note, and it is also saying that you can use one letter only one time. So in an example 2, you can see that you can use this first A to build this first A, but you do not have any another A. You have in place of A, you have B, so you are not able to construct this ransom note string. So this is returning false. And in here in example 3, you can clearly see that we need 2A to construct this ransom note string. But and also we have here two A's, so we can use this 2A to construct this string. So this is returning true. So this is the question. So let's understand how we can solve this question and understand different approaches. So here are the two examples which I have taken from the question itself. And with this example, we can understand the question and we can also use the different approaches or understand the approaches which we can apply. So as I have told earlier that this question belongs to the hash map, and this question is simply suggesting that what you have to do is that you have to check that if these elements, this number of characters present in this magazine elements are sufficient to build this ransom note or not. So what you need is that you need to know that while traversing in this ransom note a string, you need to know that do you have the sufficient amount of character in the magazine or not. So simply what you can do is that you can store these characters of magazine string in an map. And by storing this in a map, what you can do when you traverse in this ransom node, you can check that if it is present or not. If it is present, you can reduce its frequency by one, and you can move on to the next character. That's how you can check through whole ransom note string, and you can find out if in conditions where you are not able to find a character, or if you found that its frequency is equals to 0, then you can simply return false because you are not able to create this ransom note because you do not have a sufficient amount of characters. Now this is the one approach by which you can solve. But here the one thing which you can notice is that we are using an external space which is map, which space complexity is high. But in place of hash map, you can also use another data structure which is simply a array. With the use of an array, you can simply solve this question. And why is that? Let's see in this question. There is a hint. So in the constant part, you can see that it is clearly mentioned that ransom load length and magazine dot length is in between 1 to 10 raised to power 5. And the second constant is very important, is that ransom note and magazine consist of lowercase integer letters, lowercase English letters. So this is going to help us to formulate our new approach, which is going to be a very optimized approach. And in here what we can do, we can use a array. So we can declare an array of size 26. And why is that? Because it is clearly saying that the character are going to be lowercase, and you as you know that there are 26 characters. So by using this array, what you can simply do is that at every place, what you can simply store the frequency. So let's assume that you want to add the frequency for this given magazine string. So what you can do, let's assume we have this array string. So at first position, we have the index 0. So you store at the index 0, and to know that this index 0 belongs to A, what you can do is that you simply know that ASCII value of a small a is 97. So before storing this A frequency, you can simply subtract it with 97, you get 0, and at that position you can simply store its frequency. So at first iteration you have stored 1. Now when you move to the second position, that means now you are at the second position, you again check that you got A. Now again when you subtract 97, you get 0, and you again update it 1 to 2. And again when you move to the next, that means you are at the third, you get B. Now again, you if you subtract, you know that the ASCII value for B is 98, and when you subtract 97 from it, what you get? 1. So this is the first index, so you store the frequency that is 1 at the first index. So this is going to be our array of 26 length, in which we have at 0 position 2 and 1 position 1. By using this array, we can simply search and check that in the ransom note, do you get the sufficient amount of character or not? How you can do is that if you are at the any index, let's assume you are at the first index and you found it is a, so you can check by, you can subtract again 97 and you will got 0. So at the 0th index in this given array, you can check is your value is greater than 0 or not. If your value is greater than 0, that means it is present in your magazine. So you can subtract that value, that means you can reduce 2 to 1, you subtract 2 to 1 and you move to the next index. Again you are at the second index, you again check, you again get the 0th index and you again find that the value is greater than 0, that is 1. You again reduce this value to 0 and you again move to the next index. So there is the end of this loop and you find that you have iterated through whole character in the ransom node. So this is a clear indication that you got the sufficient amount of character in magazine string to construct a ransom node. So this is the approach which we can follow, and this will take a small space complexity than your map. So let's implement this. So as discussed, let's construct a array. So we can take int array of size 26 and let's initialize it with 0. Now next we are going to run a for loop for int I equals to 0, I less than magazine dot length I plus plus. And in here what you have to do is that you have to insert the value in this given array. So how you will do, you can simply write arr magazine I minus 97, as I have mentioned by ASCII value. When you subtract a minus 97 you get 0. So this is going to give us the index. So at this index what you have to do, you have to simply add 1. So you will write plus equals to 1. Now you have stored all the characters with its all the frequency for every character at their unique index in this given array. Now what we have to do, we have to iterate through the next string which is ransom node. So let's write another for loop for end I equals to 0, I less than ransom node dot length I plus plus. Now we have to check one condition, and the condition is going to be if our ransom node, if our array consists of that character or not, to construct the next word in our string ransom node. So to check that, what we'll do, we will write array ransom node array. We will write array ransom node dot I ransom node I, that means add that minus 97. So this is going to give us the index, and we will check if at this index in our array if the value is greater than 0, that signifies that we have the character which we require to construct the next character in our ransom node string. That means we have the character present in our magazine. So what we will do, we will move on and we reduce the value in our array, that because we have already used that. So to do so, what we will do, we will decrease the value present at this index, which is this index. We will decrease the value. And how we will do, we will write minus equals to 1. Now in else part, let's assume that this condition is true, we moved on. Now in the else part, what it is indicating, that we do not have the value greater than 0, that means it is equals to 0. That simply signifies that we do not have the character which is required to construct our ransom node, because our magazine have the frequency for that character is now become 0, or if in already doesn't have that character. So in that case we have to return false. So if let's assume that this else part never comes, so if we have to return it, return. So let's assume that this else part never comes. That means every time this if condition is run, that means we have the character which we require to construct the ransom node every time. That means we have simply constructed our string which is ransom node. So simply we have to return true. Now let's try to run this code. So this is accepted. Now let's submit this code. So this is successfully submitted. So this is the question for today. This is a simple question and the first question in our hash map series. So this is a very interesting question. Thank you all.